Welcome back to another episode of the Lads Talking Footy podcast. Myself, joined with Jordan Tana, Simon Anderson. Lads, how are we?
Good, bro. Always bloody good. Feels like just yesterday we were in the studio.
Well, funny enough, it was just yesterday we were in the studio.
Wow. Yeah, it feels like it's been a long weekend. Lots of sport, lots of good times. And
Lots of sport.
oh my God, mate. Not all the results we wanted, but some just exactly what we needed on a long weekend.
Well, I mean, you've been on the edge of your seat wanting to talk about it right from the get-go. So UFC 287, Adesanya beats Pereira.
back!
I mean, two of us picked it, one of us didn't. But
didn't.
Do you want to take us through the card and what you thought? About it?
Obviously we'll get to that knockout in a bit, and man, I'm happy to be wrong because that was so fucking nasty. But we'll cover that in a second. We also picked 6 other fights on the card. The first one we covered was Kelvin Gastelum defeating Chris Curtis by unanimous decision on the early prelims. Oh, on the prelims, sorry.
The featured prelim.
Yeah, the feature prelim. So that led into the show. A great close scrap. Pretty much, I think, how we had it going, right? We both said Gastelum by decision. That was a
big
good prop
brawl.
play.
It was going to go all the way. It was going to be real close.
Two very boxing-heavy approaches, and it all just went kind of to script, really.
Yeah, but I mean, Gastelum impressed you, right? Surely.
Gastelum did impress me. He showed a more versatile skill set than Chris Curtis, who was kind of just following him around in those earlier rounds, and he didn't have as much in the toolbox in terms of movement and leg kicks that Gastelum was offering, and he got down in those early 2 rounds and couldn't quite bring it back, even though he made a late push with some of the body shots he was landing, but...
There was a lot of noise on social media from the two of them, Strickland and Chris Curtis, about the headbutt in the second round. It wasn't actually a clean drop, and I don't know whether the judges took that into consideration, but a lot of the fans probably did, thinking that it was a clean drop in the second round. But even if that didn't happen and remove that from the scoring, I still would have given Gastelum that second round. I mean, yeah, I definitely think he was landing the more deadlier shots. He was sticking and moving. And yeah, Chris Curtis, I think that's his style. He does just kind of plot around. He's borrowed it from Strickland, where he just follows you, has a tight guard, tries to put power shots on you. And he was ripping the body hard. But I just think Gastelum, much more of a complete fighter.
And
much
I personally like seeing Gastelum back in the win column because he's a tough son of a bitch. He gave Izzy all he could handle. He's 5'9" in a weight class where everyone's on average about 6'2", and he's just tough as nails. And I like seeing him succeed.
Yeah, I mean, looking at that division, I honestly wouldn't be upset if Gastelum got a title shot again sometime soon. I mean, he's only fought for the interim, right? So give him a shot at the undisputed.
I mean, it's pretty up in the air at the moment. We'll get to what's next for Izzy and whatnot, but yeah, it's pretty bleak at the moment.
Oh my God, yeah.
That might be an outlandish statement and maybe before this weekend, but...
Not anymore.
Nah, not at all.
You could tell he really wanted it. I mean, a good for him. Yeah, a very big good for Gastelum.
Yeah, for sure. And the second fight that we covered, the opening fight on the main card, was a bit of a disappointment.
It was.
Yeah.
He came... sorry, you take us into it.
Christian Rodriguez defeated Raul Rosas Jr. by unanimous decision, and yeah, to me, Raul kind of just fought like a kid and expended a lot of energy in that first round. Is that kind of where you saw he went wrong?
Yeah, look, he had his mind set on the takedown, and that's pretty much all he was trying to bloody do the whole time. It was, I mean, you put it perfectly. It was the young fighter within him, and he came up against some experience and learned how to handle the fight. And he sort of found, you could see in the second round and towards the end of the third as well, he just put some work on the young kid and taught him a few lessons. And hopefully he bounces back from this. The ego's been checked a little bit.
Yeah.
But, I mean, look, he's exciting. And he got in there and he knows what he's good at, and that's where he just went to the whole time. But, I mean, learning curve for him. But
I mean, the only thing I'll say is that any other fighter that has such a huge reliance on their grappling has creative ways to initiate the takedown. He wasn't hiding it at all. He wasn't throwing strikes to bring the guard up to then shoot at the hips. He wasn't doing anything to close the distance.
Attacking submissions.
Yeah, he was diving from a distance. The Rodriguez was sprawling, and you could tell he was using up far too much energy. I would compare him to like Chimaev, but the fact is he was far more effective at that rush, blitz attack kind of fashion and actually getting takedown results. But this guy just running into a brick wall and getting nowhere. And he got tired. You can see he really suffered in those later rounds.
It showed a lack of maturity in this fight. I'm not fully out on the hype train because he is 18, and whether he becomes the youngest UFC champion of all time is still up in the air. I lean towards the side of no after seeing that.
As well.
But the thing is, we could see vast improvements in the 5 years he has to achieve that record. because 23 was the previous youngest held by John Jones. He won it back in 2011 at 23 years old. So, man, this guy's still 18, just turned 18. 5 years of development, who knows?
Yeah, I mean, with the resources they have now, with the PI, he's from Vegas, right? So he's got the PI down the road, so he could get some massive experience increases quickly compared to what was available when John Jones was a bit more of a natural freak. So yeah, I'm definitely not going to write him off. He's a great grappler, great jiu-jitsu. He just needs a bit of confidence on the feet and just a few smart game plan changes, and he'll run through a lot of people who are unranked above him.
Yes, okay, and the next fight up the card was Kevin Holland defeating Santiago Ponzinibbio by round 3 TKO. We both called the TKO, and I believe you called a late rounds TKO. So
yeah, I did, yeah.
Hats off for that. Mixed performance by Kevin Holland, in my opinion.
I thought it was pretty entertaining. The fight itself, maybe not, but Holland was running his mouth throughout the whole whole event. And, he was calling out. I'd love to hear what he was actually saying to Trump over on the sides there and Dana White.
Yeah.
And he jumped up on the cage afterwards, went over and let his mouth do the talking. And look, he got the result. He got in there. And I thought it was impressive.
Yeah.
Elite striker.
You're always going to have, those entertaining moments in Kevin Holland fights. Kevin Holland to me is someone who's still, I don't know if he will ever be champion or will be ever be in that upper echelon, but he's still someone that has the potential. He's still someone looked above, a class above Santiago Ponzinibbio at this point in Ponzinibbio's career. And I honestly, before the knockout, I had it at 1-1 going into the third round. I believe the leg kicks, although that was kind of the only thing he was landing, I believe the leg kicks were the more damaging shots of the two fighters. And I thought Ponzinibbio was looking pretty good and may have even been on his way to getting a decision win. But like we said, what would happen was the length, the reach, the ferocity. And Pons, man, was he 38? And he's been nearly on his deathbed with an illness a couple years ago. So the chin's just not quite there anymore.
No, it's not. And I mean, you saw that earlier in the fight. He had his leg off the ground and Holland throws a strike and then gets him with the back fist and dropped him. That's either a suspect chin or somebody with some really great power in his shots. And
it's a combination of both for sure. But there was a time in Ponzinibbio's career where he probably wasn't going down that easily, pre-sickness obviously. But he's still impressive by Kevin Holland, and I fully agree. It was an entertaining finish and all the antics and stuff. His star power still grows from it all. So
I mean, I hope he stays at 170 because going up that weight division, even though it might add some skill and some star power to that empty division, which may be talking about soon, but he definitely does seem a bit of a class above if he stays there at what would be welterweight.
Yes.
Yeah.
Cool. And going up again, we got the feature fight, which was a great fight for while it lasted.
I was about to say, look, to the casual watcher, I was looking at this going, is it worth my time? Is this where I go and buy another box to settle down into? And honestly, if this had gone the distance, it could have been fight of the night.
Yeah, it really could have.
Yeah,
it was a one-round
firefight.
Yeah, so obviously Rob Font defeats Adrian Yanez by round 1 TKO. I believe you did have Rob Font for the win, but by decision. Was that correct?
I'm not quite sure because I know on the day I switched.
Well, Rob Font for the win is still a great call. I believe I took Adrian Yanez.
Yeah.
Man, he just strung out his combinations a little bit longer in those little firefights. Like they were both landing heavy shots in these exchanges, but Yanez was stuck in a boxer's mentality and would try to reset coming out of those exchanges.
Rob Font was hitting him with the jab.
Just keep going, just keep putting straights out there and keep applying the pressure, and then you'd see he'd kind of get a little bit flustered by the pressure that was coming his way, and then he eventually just got a beautiful knockout. So hats off to Rob Font.
Yeah, I mean, it's all coming back to me now. The comments last week were about the quality of opponents that Rob Font's lost to versus what Yanez has overcome on the way to this matchup.
Sure.
And it's just a tale of experience over hype. And yeah, I did pick the decision, I remember now, but yeah, I mean, far out. The fact that he just came out so hot for a man who is aging out, like the words I said was
old.
aging out of the division, but
in a lower weight class, it's quite old.
it is, yeah. So I mean, the man, they always say, and I always say too, the last thing to go is your strength. That man didn't seem too much of a step behind in the pace, but was laying it on thick.
Yeah, great performance by Rob Font. And then co-main event, Gilbert Burns defeats Jorge Masvidal by unanimous decision. Masvidal lays down the gloves. I think it was looking at that performance, he still showed a lot of dog and he
Yeah,
showed
he
a lot
did.
of character and he stayed in the fight. But it didn't
Father
look like
time.
the same Masvidal to me.
Father time
He did
probably
look-
catching
yeah.
up to him a little bit. Gilbert Burns really impressed me
Yeah,
in this.
yeah, for sure.
For a guy that he looks like an absolute nugget.
Yeah.
And just
Just
to
a ball of muscle.
stand up there and stick it to him like that. I was waiting for Masvidal to cop him with one of those knees or some crazy thing to go out on a high. But Gilbert Burns, yeah, look, stood up and striked with the best of them.
Yeah.
And then managed to show us what he can do on the ground. So yeah, I was really impressed.
Yeah, really impressive performance. I was mostly impressed by the defensive responsibility of Gilbert Burns. Like he was going in. His shot selection is maybe a little bit spastic, for lack of a better word. Like he'll throw a high kick when he's about this close to Masvidal and kind of get his legs all caught up. I think maybe that's also a lack of fear of the grappling because he's so comfortable to go to the ground. He doesn't care if he throws shit a little bit too close. But his defensive responsibility was really impressive. He was landing hooks, going into exchanges, and then coming out, and he was keeping a really tight shell, and he was really good with his spatial management. So, man, Gilbert, if he continues, because this looks improved to me.
Yeah.
Like he's always had that grappling base, and then he added the threat of power with just some like wild hooks, and now it's starting to refine with the power and a bit of technical ability as well. So, hey man, if he gets another crack at the title, like Gilbert Burns could be a live guy.
Yeah, I mean, he's a fan favorite. I think he's got quite a lot of people that support him on the way to that title shot that I believe he's probably going to earn. And that's a stacked division with a lot of people actually, claiming, hey, I want next. But, man, I think he's right up there. With Jorge, he did, or with Burns against Jorge, he did a fantastic job of shelling up because Jorge was trying to take a few of those risky looping shots. And he was, combinations of 1, 2, maybe 3 shots. And so he was holding up the shell and then able to strike against them. But man, the one thing that escaped me was that was his last fight on his contract. I'm definitely going to start looking at contract contract length, going into some of these older fighters because had I known that was going to be his last fight before he needed to renew, I probably would have backed a Burns finish, or a win at least. So
I didn't think it was a horrible pick going with Masvidal. I mean, hindsight, looking at him and looking how he looked in the cage, it might have been, but I thought he had all the skills in the world to make it difficult for Gilbert Burns,
And in Miami as well.
and in his hometown, it's just, Father Time, like you said earlier, is just undefeated. But the main event, holy fuck. Israel Adesanya defeats Alex Pereira by round 2 KO. Maybe the knockout of the year already. Maybe a top 10 knockout of all time. Man, legendary moment. Everything about it, the post-fight celebration, the being petty to the
Right from the get-go,
the kid.
the intros as well. He's coming in with obviously the dog collar and Pereira was shooting the arrows, but then you pan it to the actual in the cage and Izzy just looked locked in from the
Yeah.
get-go. And not only was he locked in, he was hungry and
Yeah.
he was ready to let it fly.
And that's exactly what he did. I thought a element of this fight was, in the second round especially, the heat that Izzy was putting on his punches when Pereira was trying to pressure him. Obviously, leading up to the KO, Pereira was going forward and he was pressuring him. But I'm thinking it's quite low IQ from Pereira, and Izzy, crafty cunt, man.
He switched up his stance early on. I mean, Pereira went back to those calf kicks.
He's
and-
constantly switching stances, but
Yeah.
yeah, he did. He was winning the calf kick battle, and he just got a little bit over eager, a little bit overconfident, and I think maybe the success he had in the first fight with just walking him down and being that marauder just put himself in that situation, and Izzy just tapped boog over the top.
man, I think Pereira was a little bit like, oh, I've seen this before. I've been here before. I know what's about to happen. And Adesanya was like, I got something special for you. You should have learned. And man, did he not just connect with? Well, it was a beautiful put together combo. He's up against the fence. The left hand just touches the face just to get him distracted. And then Pereira rolls straight into the right overhand, smokes him, and then he gets wobbled, takes a step back. Adesanya pressures him, another touch to the face with the left hand, cracks him again with the right hand, and then the uppercut from the left is coming on the way to the floor. A beautiful combination.
And out, man.
Yeah.
Out. And they panned over to Izzy as he was celebrating and doing all his antics.
Pereira was still out.
And they came back to him and he was just conscious, but he still had no idea what he thought he was still in Brazil, man. He had no idea where he was.
I mean, that last elbow, he I don't know if he could have got it any higher up before he just dropped his full weight onto the dude's chin. So he said that elbow was from the gods, and it just about was.
Yeah, man. What great knockout. Already, where does that rank in terms of your favorite like knockouts that you've seen?
Man.
I mean, it incited a lot of reaction out of all of us, I'm sure.
Yeah. Well, there was a few of us here watching it, and everybody was screaming. We were all screaming, "He's dead! He's dead!"
I thought he was dead.
Yeah, I mean, the guy was asleep. So, somewhere between like top 3 and top 5. I mean, I have to spend some time trying to remember all of the great knockouts. But I mean, you've got like Buckley's spinning back kick with the leg off the ground. You've got Jorge Masvidal KOing Askren.
You got the Leon Edwards 5th round head kick.
McGregor Aldo straight away at the start.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's somewhere top 5.
It's definitely up there.
Yeah.
Now it's a question of what next for Izzy, because
I mentioned this to you earlier because that's what I wasn't sure about.
yeah, and it's looking by the back and forth exchanges on Twitter between him and Dricus du Plessis over who's a authentic African champion or not, because Dricus lives there and Adesanya obviously lives here in New Zealand now. It's looking like that's the fight that's next. I mean, I don't really want to see it because Dricus, to me, hasn't shown that he is a worthy title challenger yet, because he just looks a little bit unrefined, and I don't know if I'm really convinced it's a good title challenger for him.
No, I mean, well, full credit to him for being willing and keen for the challenge, but the styles don't match up at all. The fact that every single fight Dricus has actually won have been a questionable decision usually, or he's looked extremely gassed. He does say that he fights with his mouth open because he has nasal problems, like he can't actually breathe properly through his nose. And whether or not he's actually choosing to breathe through his mouth, it's still a fatiguing factor.
Yeah.
And he's not gonna. We've never seen him do 5 rounds, I don't think.
No, not at all. Well, he's from KSW, and he was a former KSW champion, which is a promotion over in Poland, I believe. So he's been in title fights. I don't know whether they do the 5-round system for their title fights, but
Different beast.
it's a different beast in the UFC.
Yeah, I mean, the reason we're saying that it looks like Dricus is that you've got Rob Whittaker versus Paulo Costa.
No.
Sorry,
So-
Chimaev versus Paulo Costa.
Yeah, that was just announced today. And then also just everyone else he's fought already.
Yeah.
He's beaten Whittaker twice, would be the only legitimate option left for him.
I want to see Chimaev.
Yeah,
That's what I want to see next.
Yeah, I would be more interested in that than a Dricus du Plessis, but with the Chimaev fight just being announced with Paulo Costa in October, which is a long time away, as he wants to stay active, they're probably going to give him someone else, and I'm begrudgingly thinking it's Dricus du Plessis.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you cast your mind ahead, you could see, somewhere around the middle of the year, maybe on the same card as Volkanovski. I don't know if they'd give us that sort of excitement and value.
They better.
I mean, it's my birthday, so I'd love for that to happen for Volkanovski and Rodriguez and Adesanya Dricus on the same card. But, maybe somewhere in the middle of the year, he beats Dricus. Then in October, you get Chimaev running through Costa, maybe an early round sub. And then, Chimaev is fresh. He goes, hey,
I'm not convinced by that, but I am leaning Hamza.
This is the story.
Ideal world.
Storyline, right? Yeah. So Chimaev gets his through Costa without much of a punishment. He goes, I'm fresh. I want the title now. And then you set it up for December or something.
Yeah, January.
Yeah,
something like that. Yeah. No, that sounds good to me, and it sounds probably like the most likely timeline they're trying to aim for. But in terms of Alex Pereira, what I see next for him is a move up, because I know it was a beautiful knockout, but the chin to me seems very suspicious. And I think a big part of that is the massive weight cuts he's doing to get down to 185. Because he's walking into the cage at, I believe, 218 was not this last one, but that was the weight for his first Izzy fight, which is, man, that's like 23 pounds or 33 pounds.
Yeah, Dana said he had 2 pounds to cut an hour before the weight. Session. So I mean, that's what 5 kgs in an hour.
He's just too big, man. He needs to go up. And you can see, because Israel Adesanya is one of the biggest middleweights, height, stature himself, and Alex Pereira still outsizes him considerably. So the next move for Pereira is to go up, and I would love to see 2 savvy kickboxing veterans, Jan Blachowicz. I'd like to see Alex Pereira versus Jan.
Nice. The other one we're talking about after the fight was actually Johnny Walker. That would be an interesting one as well. I think he'd probably do a lot of damage to Johnny.
That would be more of a showcase fight
Yeah,
to me. I think he would probably knock Johnny out personally, but
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he goes straight for the title because he did, but I mean, I would love to see it.
Yeah, I
Sweet
would too.
Dreams versus fucking
I would too.
Pereira would be just a beautiful scrap, and that would I think it was you said it as well. It would give Jamal a chance to show his wrestling off.
yeah, and I probably would lean to Jamal in that matchup just because of that aspect. But hey, man, there's still options for him. I just don't see it at 185.
Yep.
Cool. And that's all the UFC wrapped up. There is a fight night this weekend that is got a pretty exciting main event, got a pretty exciting card in general. I know Pedro Munoz is on the card, Chris Gutierrez, Billy Quarantillo is always an exciting guy to watch, but the main event is an absolute doozy. You've got Max Holloway versus Arnold Allen. Max Holloway, a $1.53 favorite versus the surging Arnold Allen, who I believe is on a 9-fight win
12.
streak. A 12-fight win streak.
Yeah,
Oh, no,
maybe
9-fight UFC win
yeah,
streak.
Yeah, sorry, but yeah,
A
12.
$2.45 underdog. Simon, I'll start with you. Where do you see this fight going?
To the ambulance. Like I think one of these dudes is getting serious brain damage. So this is probably, I mean, it's 5 rounds.
Yep.
Right. It's going to be a brutal scrap. Looking at the run in that Arnold Allen has, not the same caliber. It's a very common theme that we've seen lately. With the person coming up the ranks with a lot of hype, lots of
But
wins strung together.
that's just the nature of the beast. You
I
never
think
know
so.
till you know.
Yeah, exactly. But if anything, the last few weeks has shown is that these fighters who are in the top category of the UFC are there for a reason, and they definitely do well against these people coming up the ranks. So my heart as a Holloway fan and my brain is saying that we back Holloway for a decision. I don't know if Arnold Allen has a weak chin to get done within 5. I think Max Holloway is a great boxer. He's got great talent. He lands volume rather than power. Potentially might want to change things up and try and get him out of there soon because he doesn't want to take a lot of damage that Arnold Allen can throw at him. But so I would definitely pick, well, not definitely say, but I'm picking a Holloway decision.
The key factor in this fight for me is the cardio. And Max Holloway has shown he's got the most significant strikes in one single fight by far in that Cater fight. And
That was just a crazy fight.
crazy performance. And Arnold Allen, I don't believe, well, he's been scheduled for 5 rounds against Calvin Kattar, but that fight obviously ended in the first round with Calvin Kattar tearing his ACL. So he hasn't actually been the distance, and he has shown some vulnerability in the cardio department against Sadiq Youssef, especially. I believe he lost that last round. So to me, Arnold Allen has some of the fastest hands in the UFC, and I'm not even exaggerating. He has got lightning quick hands in those early rounds. So I'm going to go out on a limb and make some wild prediction that Arnold Allen gets a 10-8 first round and has Max Holloway in all sorts of trouble, dropped everywhere. And I'm calling a fight of the year comeback win for Max Holloway in round 3. Round
Really?
3 TKO to
Really?
a slightly tired Arnold Allen, who
Shows him the door.
shows him the door, lays it on him, volume, punches and bunches, and gets him crumpled against the cage after some combinations by Max Holloway. So I'm
love
going
to see it.
round 3 fight of the year candidate.
Nice. Yeah, and just some of the other names on there. You've got Edson Barboza coming up against Billy Quarantillo that you talked about. Also on the main card, is Clay Guida. Also a fan.
I love Clay Guida.
Yeah, fan favorite of Clay
Hair in
Guida.
the eyes.
Yeah.
Swing and pray.
Huge burps in between rounds.
Yeah,
Yeah. So there's plenty of action. Maybe not, the most skilled fights on display, but plenty of action for your Sunday.
Yeah, for sure.
How good. Now, Super Rugby Pacific, we head into just the one matchup between the New Zealand teams this weekend, and we have the Hurricanes taking on the Chiefs. The Hurricanes beat the Highlanders 29-14, and the Chiefs are coming in off the bye, but had previously beaten the Blues 20-13. Now, the Hurricanes, one try, 12 runs, and 89 run meters, 4 tackle breaks, 1 try assist for a halfback. Roy Guard, oh my God.
You stole my points. That's all I wanted to say about this match.
It's all everyone's saying about him at the moment. I mean, all I keep saying is Scotty Robinson, is Roy Guard going to be the 2024 halfback, first choice halfback? Yep. I don't even think it's going to potentially be a smoky that he gets some sort of game time towards the end of the season.
He's
going
really
to travel with the pack. I mean, Finlay played outstanding. We've got Fakatava that's doing unbelievably well as well for the Highlanders, and Smithy who's going to go with them as well. But man, I'd love to see the young guy travel with them.
I'm taking him over Fakatava. I'll say that much.
for sure.
We do have a lot of depth at the moment, but he is someone that we need to invest in because he has all the skill sets already of an elite halfback. And he showed in this game with the intercept to Fakatava with the flick pass, he's got an instinct for the game. And
TJ Perenara like.
exactly. So, man, he is a prospect. I would not be shocked at all if he does get some All Blacks minutes.
Look, the Hurricanes definitely didn't dominate the Highlanders statistically when you look at the actual overall stats from this, but one thing that does point out is time in the opposition 22 in this one, and that's sort of where it all came from. I mean, you get a 29-14 result out of it, and look, the Hurricanes just took their opportunities, beat the Highlanders down and managed to get the win. They're coming up against a bit of a different beast this weekend, so they're going to have to play some more expansive footy. I mean, Simon, what else did you take away from their game?
The Hurricanes?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they made the most of their opportunities, and that's showing because you just talked about the stats are so even. Like there was nothing really to split them in terms of were there any missed tackles, were there any turnovers, penalties conceded. It's all even. So yeah, they made the most of their opportunities in their territory. I can't really put it out any other way than they were just a bit more clinical than the Highlanders.
Yeah, Corey Jane had a quote after the match. He said, they showed what they can do when they're not being dumb.
Yeah.
And in that first half, that's not the exact quote, but it was something along those lines. And he's in the first half, you can see them sort of, make some mistakes, and then they still have yet to put a real, full, complete performance against a good team together. But
it's a young team. Honestly, I think the one player that they're missing to unlock this full potential is Ruben Love. I think you put Ruben Love at the fullback position for this Hurricanes team. You've got Ray Arce, Kenny Naholo, you've got Geordie Barrett.
Billy Proctor's in great form.
Exactly, and you've got the two young studs leading the team around, and you just bring this X factor from the back, the speed, just to sort of bring it all together. I mean,
the skill set.
I'm not a Garden Basham fan at all, and I mean, honestly, if he comes, or when he eventually comes back, that's the key to this puzzle, I think, in unlocking that full potential in attack.
Do you think with Ruben Love back in the fold, are they a genuine contender in your eyes to win this competition?
I don't think they're a genuine contender to win the competition, but I think they're a genuine threat to upset some teams and potentially knock some contenders out.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, well, shout out Mark Peard. He called the Hurricanes his sleeper team. So
I did as well. I'll take that one.
Yeah, exactly.
I say Waratahs, I think. Jesus.
Now, the Chiefs are coming off the bye, and the win before was fantastic for them. Unbeaten team and looking to completely stamp their authority on this one. Where do you guys see this match going?
Yeah, so you've got the Hurricanes as $2.20 underdogs at home and Chiefs at $1.72 favourites. I think that line is a little bit closer than I expected it to come out. I still have very high hopes for the Chiefs, and I think the line is as close as what it is because the Hurricanes have shown a lot of good form, and they are the top of the table at the moment. But I see a still young and incomplete team versus a team who's been the gold standard all year of this competition. So I am going to stick with the Chiefs in this one, but I am going to call it being close. Wellington's always a bit of a weird place to play just because territory is a little bit sketchy to come across with all the wind in the arena and whatnot. So I've got Chiefs 1-12, and that's paying $2.70.
Yeah, look, I mean, down in Wellington's going to make a good difference for the Hurricanes in this one, and I think the Chiefs will get this done. And I'd be sticking maybe more to the point start margin because I'm a little bit worried about actually trying to predict a scoreline on this one because I can see the Chiefs absolutely completely blowing this out of the water, or it's staying a little bit on the tighter end and get a few late in the game. I'm looking forward to the winger matchups in this one. It's going to be some young guns off for display. So look, I'll be taking the Chiefs in this on the spread.
If my math is correct, Ray Arce is on Narawa's side.
Yes.
Oh my God, that is fantastic.
Two elusive wingers that are going to be roaming the whole field, and when they match up on that right or left hand side, however you want to look at it, cannot wait.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there could be a case of the two opposites attract and nullify. I mean, there could be the case of two exciting backlines kind of cancel each other out and return to a Ford derby. But
you're selling it.
No, I don't want that to happen. I would love to see some clinical back play. I'm going to give Chiefs the edge in this one just based on prior form and ability to string phases together, to hold on to the pill, to kick well, to just execute in a way a professional rugby team should, whereas the Hurricanes a little bit more. They haven't quite nailed it down, and we're talking about it. They're missing a few pieces.
If I were to like simplify it in the most simple, way too simple, the Chiefs are a little bit more clinical in their attack, and their shape is a lot better, while the Hurricanes are a bit wild.
To simple it even more, the Chiefs know how to attack and how they're going to do it.
Yeah.
The Hurricanes are still trying to figure that out.
Okay, yeah.
To simplify it even more, Chiefs really good, Hurricanes good.
There you go. All right. Well, that's Super Rugby wrapped up for us, and into the NRL. As for our tips, I was 4 for 8 on the head-to-heads. Cowboys, Broncos, Dragons, and Warriors I all had wrong. As for chasing the perfect 8, we were 5 from 8. I missed on Sloan, Tungo, and Dearden.
See, I tailed you on that one, and I was hoping it was going to come through, but fucking Dearden, bro.
Oh, wow.
He was the one that failed first, so that's all I care about.
Yeah. You stopped paying attention.
Yeah,
after that.
exactly.
It was a tough week of NRL, man. I was only 3 from 8 in terms of my picks, and yeah, there was just too many upsets, man. Like, I don't know if anyone had the Raiders beating the Broncos. I don't know if anyone had. None of us had the Knights beating the Warriors. I know you were thinking about it.
Did anyone have the Storm?
Yeah, I had the Storm.
Yeah, I had the Storm.
Okay, right. Guess that wasn't as much of a shock.
Then into the actual review of it all now. The Storm defeated the Chooks 28-8. Melbourne targeted that right edge right from the get-go. Olam and Hutchinson was a matchup that they were looking at, and they had a lot of success down there all night. Coates got himself a hat trick out of it, which just sort of proves my point. Cam Munster is so good. Goodness. 1 try, 2 try assists, 8 tackle breaks, 209 run meters, 419 kick meters. Absolute dog. Welch was working really hard all night. The stats don't reflect it, but he was the leader in this team. He was real vocal earlier in the week about the Cheese matchup, and he put that game on his shoulders, which was great to see. Sammy Walker as well had a bit of a night to forget. Nothing was really going his way throughout the whole thing, and he just was trying to force his hand a little bit too much.
Yeah, so this was one-way traffic, and the Storm re-establishing themselves as genuine contenders in this matchup. They were highly accurate, not giving away... the Roosters were not accurate at all, while the Storm were highly accurate. The Roosters were giving away so many penalties and so many errors, and I know it was wet conditions, but the Storm was still managing an 86% completion rate. And when they're completing this high and they're sort of showing a bit more defensive effort as well, and Munster's just doing the damage that he's doing, and another player in the Hundy club for fantasy points.
Yeah, that's impressive.
The Storm team is doing Storm things, man. They're kind of back.
Yeah, well, just looking at the stats now, Cam Munster with the most running meters of anyone on the field, 209 meters at in the half as well, not at fullback or anything. So those are hard-earned meters. So, I mean, he definitely deserved all those 100 fantasy points. And yeah, I think it's a bit scary now seeing the Storm actually perform how everybody was not expecting them to, but we'd seen them perform like that and thought it was possible.
And they
we
still don't even have all their troops, man. Like, there's still more to come off the ranks. So scary signs from the Melbourne Storm. Nick Meaney had a great first half as well. He got 1 try, 123 run meters, 1 line break, 2 try assists, and 1 line break assist. But
he's looked comfortable at that fullback spot. I will give him that. I was worried about that from the get-go. I said earlier in our shows, I think he's potentially sort of become a bit of a Ruben Garrick type player where he's good enough to be on the wing. He's a good goal kicker, but you can also slot him in at fullback now, and he can cover your losses as well.
Yeah, no, Nick Meaney impressive, and they will miss him this week because I believe he's not in the team for the following match. But Remus Smith also did a great job covering Suwali. I thought Suwali was really struggling and not getting much of his offense going in that game. But to be fair, the Roosters just looked fucking hopeless. Yeah. And I think
they have these games.
They do, and they showed it all throughout the last year as well. But to me, I was thinking, man, is this a factor of James Tedesco not being there? And this is the importance of a veteran leader who can kind of settle the nerves when errors are not going their way?
It's a combination of that, and then a combination of on the other side when you've got Harry Grant, Jerome Hughes, and Cam Munster, and then you look at Sammy Walker, Keary, and Manu now at fullback, and you've had disruption in the spine, and you've got a young half in there where the game isn't quite going to him, and he doesn't know where to look on. And when you look at the Storm, when the game isn't really sort of going their way, who puts it on their back? Cam Munster
Cam
does.
Munster,
And
yeah,
he
for
does it
sure.
himself. He doesn't do these little flicky passes. He knows his skills or his strengths, and that's where he goes to right from the get-go. Rabbitohs defeat the Bulldogs 50-16. Very first play from their own half, the Dogs just blew the Bunnies out of the park.
Jake Averillo, quick, man.
Real
Quicker than I
quick.
thought.
Yeah. They were looking competitive for a little bit. The injury to Fox was a massive blow, and
Yeah.
then Latrell happened. A lot of noise all week talking about his form. We did a lot of that as well on our show.
Yeah.
3 tries in game number 150, all the stats to go along with it. The Bunnies really needed to get this. They've got a lot of rhythm, and the back end of that, they'll have a lot more confidence as well. My question for you, and you'll like this as well, Cam Murray or Isaiah Yao, better ball player?
Isaiah Yao. Isaiah Yao, in my opinion, but Cam Murray really showed out in this game, and it was impressive to see. But
I'm leaning towards Cam Murray.
Okay.
I think Isaiah Yao was a great system player,
Yep.
but when you're talking about an actual ball player, I think Cam Murray is fantastic with that pill. He's crafty around the line, and he makes the right play more times than the wrong.
okay, yeah,
I was going to say Murray a better ball runner and carrier, but Isaiah Yeo a better ball player.
Yeah.
And that he can carry the ball better and offload and make the right pass.
I'm just taking Isaiah Yao. I just am. I don't know how to explain it. I just think he's a better ball player.
Well, I mean, the man's got the games to prove it. He's
Yeah.
played a fair amount of games, 200 and something now.
Yeah, well, yeah, but hey,
What's with the milestone games?
I don't know. We need to start betting on them
Yeah.
when people have milestones coming up. Fat Trell turned back into Latrell Mitchell, and it was bloody impressive to see, man. I've never seen anyone enjoy the banter of kicking goals as much as he does.
I know.
He has a reaction every single
time.
kick,
Yeah.
and it's actually kind of funny to see. Like,
He's an entertaining player to watch because he reacts with the crowd. He reacts with players. Like, you get so many players when they're playing a match, they invest themselves in the moment. Whereas Latrell invests himself in the moment, but he knows what the moment is,
Yeah,
and he
he's
plays
still-
along with it.
yeah, and like he has shown. It's kind of rare, if I'm being honest, but he has shown these moments of emotional outbursts and making poor negative plays. But when it comes to clutch time play, he is still very present and always willing to stick his hand up. And you got to actually respect him for that. But hey, we were talking about the Rabbitohs' right edge last week and the disconnect with Ilias's side. It was kind of funny watching it this week, and Cam Murray had a big factor in this as well. But the soul for them was just having Cody Walker drift around and make the plays on that opposite side. So, I mean, Ilias is going to turn into a little bit of a spectator, but hey, if you're getting 50 points, why not?
Why not?
Yeah.
No, the only thing I can add is that the doggies, I think, even though Fox is on the wing, I think he's a bit of a kind of emotional, I don't know, like post for them.
catalyst.
Yeah. Like whether it's a comeback or to surge ahead, he's the kind of catalyst for it and leads it. So I think the doggies did suffer mentally a lot from losing that man early, but
And tangibly as well. I think
Yeah.
he's an actual good defender. He gambles at the right times. He's really good at intercepts. He knows how to shut his men down. And they fucking got exposed as soon as he went off.
Exactly. He's a threat on the defensive end.
He
and-
also starts to set off well, like whether it's the first carry or like a restart or anything like that. He does start a set well, and he can get you good go forward with the carry. So, I mean, that can be all the difference we've seen with the Warriors with our back three, whether they're playing well or not. That does set the tone for a set.
And I know I say it every week, but Burton and Marnie just play too much hero ball. And I think it kind of rubs off on the team and they start to like force offloads and stuff like that. Like they just need one of those guys to just settle it and kind of take over. Like you don't need to chance your arm all the time. And then everyone sort of sees them doing it and they start throwing wild offloads as well. And
You know, one thing that I was starting to ponder today. So you got the young high flyer, Jaden Campbell off of the Titans, who's coming off contract in 2024. Now you've got Stephen Crichton heading to the Bulldogs. I would love to see the Bulldogs. I know Crichton's going to be going there for the fullback role. Put him into the centres and go and get yourself Jaden Campbell. And then you've got this sort of balance that's going to form on both sides, and you've got an electric young gun at fullback.
yeah.
I think that's something that could sort of maybe unlock a little bit more of a threat for Marnie to play around in the ruck sort of game. And then you've got, Crichton arguably is going to be, I was just pondering and
No.
I don't know, it'd be
I
interesting.
kind of look when I think about the the assets they have, I like the look of it, but then I also think about the way the Bulldogs play and the way that they try to get all of their backline involved on exit sets and get them making lots of runs. And I just worry about the bricks in the pocket for Jaden Campbell in terms of that. But in terms of like your like a strike set, I would love to see Jaden Campbell in that situation.
Now the Dolphins defeat the Cowboys 32-22. Simon, do you want to kick us off with that, mate?
Yeah, this one's an interesting one. Like the Cowboys, I think I picked the Cowboys to win this one. They have had some success and look like to be building, but I mean, the Dolphins really, really struggling with their injury woes. They're still missing a lot of direction from their halves, and it's crazy that this one went the way it did. But
look, defense for the Cowboys. 42 missed tackles. The Dolphins had a huge amount of success again down the right edge, and Katoa was at the helm of this. I thought having Cotter back, Drinky back, would help them sort of take a little bit of a load off Taumalolo, and then Drinkwater sort of flare out the back would be the difference in this one. But the Cowboys are in a world of problems right now, and for a Dolphins team to click like that, and not only just on the game itself, Jermaine Osako is leading the league in points.
Yeah.
Him and Hamiso Tabuai-Fidow are tied leading the league in try scorers.
Wow.
I did not pick the Dolphins to be this competitive, let alone have this surgence from these players, and it's unreal.
This much exciting talent.
I know.
Exciting young talent.
You
it's
have
not obvious as well. Like, it's not like they're going, oh, this is exactly what they're doing differently to other teams. But it seems to just be great direction from the man in the box.
The man in the helm.
Yeah. And the players on the field just have overwhelming belief in the fact that their systems will create points and this players to strike on the edges. I mean, we all know who's a big fan of the hammer here, and He stepped up. He stepped up big time.
I mean, like, not only that, though, you've got Sean O'Sullivan was the halfback to start the year. We sort of thought that Anthony Milford was going to be that guy. Sean O'Sullivan goes down. Anthony Milford goes down. And you had Cody Nikarima sort of step up. And the young half in Katoa manages to get the result done as well. Like, it's really, really impressive footy.
Yeah, and a lot of that you probably have to put to Wayne Bennett and the belief he's probably instilled. He seems like a really level-headed young kid, but Wayne Bennett's in his ear saying, like, this is your team now. We've got two halves down. Let's step up. Let's take over and let's work your side. And you saw great results from it.
Exactly. Now the Panthers defeat Manly 44-12. Headgear Brothers on the right have an absolute field day. Manly's left edge defence just looked atrocious. Dom Young had 4 the week before. Penrith Edwards had
Dylan
4
Edwards,
this week. Look, Cleary from the get-go looked hungry to run the Steeden all night, which just makes them even more dangerous. You've got 2,154 run meters to the Riff, 1,222 run meters to the Birds. I think that's really all you need to know on this.
Holy heck.
That one stat just defines the absolute game in a nutshell. The Panthers are just relentless week in, week out. Turbo, unfortunately, was just ineffective the entire night. Seabold came out afterwards and explained what was happening at halftime. He actually received a needle to help with back spasms that were occurring. I don't know why you leave the guy out there. You've just sent him over to Canada for issues with his hammy, and he's having these back injuries.
And especially at 32, 36, whatever it was at halftime,
he's
down.
not effective at all. You're resting Fatboy Schuster.
Yeah.
Rest Turbo, Like,
exactly.
I mean, look, I didn't get that. I don't know why you left him
Especially when
out
the
there.
game, I mean, it's a pretty negative mindset to want to rest someone when you are down and you've got the whole half ahead of you, but
It was 32 points as well.
32 points.
He was having issues before the game as well,
Yeah.
so I just don't get it.
And I just think he's in the games, every game this year, he's looked a little bit lethargic, not like the full venom that Turbo can provide a team. But hey, I've been looking at this Seagulls team. Even when they were doing well, I thought there was flaws in this team.
I was blinded.
Yeah. I mean, the attack was beautiful, but we're starting to see the flaws sort of exaggerate themselves now. And when you're coming up against a team like the Panthers, who are as relentless as they are, as clinical as they are, and when Cleary's on top form getting you 100 fantasy points, you're going to get blown out. And I was picking 11-20, but man, they went way over that.
Yeah, I mean, we were just talking about the Storm and scary form returning. Another team that struggled early in the year, missed a few pieces, struggled to put it together, had a couple wins here and there, but really, really put it together against a good team. And Sam, your stat definitely paints a picture, but here's 2 more for you. 12 line breaks to none for the Eagles, and 42 tackle breaks to the 17.
Panthers.
Oh, sorry, Panthers to the Eagles. So there you go. I mean, no line breaks and only 17 tackle breaks compared to 42. An average set distance of almost 16 meters more for the Penrith Panthers. So 49 meters over 33, and massive kick return meters. So they smoked them in every measure that really matters. So
that's crazy.
Yeah.
Jason Saab's returned to footy as well. It was good to see him out there. I think the speed's definitely there. Yep. It's going to balance out this team a little bit more. It's a shame that Kohler's not there. I mean, that combo of having Olakwatu, Kohler and Saab out on that right edge, and then you've got the monsters on the left as well. It's a shame that that's sort of not there to take form, but it was good to see him back out there. Now the Raiders defeat the Broncos 20-14.
Multi-buster.
Yeah. Some would say controversial, but I don't.
Yeah, we'll get to that one. Raiders hit quickly out of the blocks, and I thought that might have sort of been it, but they just completely stuck around the whole match. I'd said last week about the Raiders' record being slow starters. They got a win under their belts in this, and I'm interested to see if this form now continues and they can start to build on their season. I really thought that Schneider was going to be sort of the game breaker in this, not having Whiten on that back for them. But yeah, it was
the game breaker in like a bad way.
Yeah, in a bad way. So it was good to see them put that together. We'll get to it in the previews. They're going to have Whiten back now this week. So I'm interested to see where to from the Raiders now. The Broncos, you're going to drop them. I'm interested to see how they bounce back though.
Yeah, so Fogarty is looking like he can control a team a little bit better on his own. I'm not saying he's a better player. That's not what I'm saying at all. But when he's on his own, the offense doesn't, sort of look as unorganized as it is with just Whiten out there. So, I mean, it's an impressive performance by the Raiders. You've got Jordan Rapana kind of turning back the clock with 2 tries, 119 meters, 2 line breaks, 5 tackle breaks, and then a nasty injury at the end. What are our thoughts on the penalty at the end? Because there's not much Martin Tapau could have done in that situation. The image isn't good, the blood all over his head and whatnot, but
I think it was reckless. I honestly think it was reckless. I think he had plenty of time to see Rapana hit the deck, and I definitely think he made no attempt to slow down at least, and came in and collected him at pretty much full pace. Like if you watch it at full pace, there's not much of an attempt to avoid the collision at all. Like he knew that man was on the ground, and we know that for the longest time in rugby, the defending team has to make the motion to get out of the way. Like it's up to the defender to prevent.
And the
injury.
way he caught it, he went down with it.
And he was making no intention to stay on his feet taking that catch, and to collect him with the knee like that is. Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Yeah, gruesome sight.
I kind of agree with it as well. Player welfare is what we should be looking for first and foremost, is the players playing the game, and sort of we should be protecting them with the rules and all of that. And again, you got to look at it on the other side of it as well. This is a player that's coming down and making a play like that, so it is sticky. And when you get calls like this that arguably can break the game, it is a little bit tough.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I do not think it was intentional. I just think it was carelessly unavoided, and I think he could have made a few more evasive maneuvers to limit the damage and prevent leaving the field and Rapana getting, I don't know if you saw the slow motion footage, but as soon as he collected him with the knee, the blood was just dripping and squirting.
It wasn't good.
No. 5 stitches or 6 stitches or something?
No. It was like
20 something?
It was 18.
18? Oh, wow. Okay.
I heard it was a lot.
Now the Titans defeat the Dragons 20-18. Absolute arm wrestle of a match. How good was it? Philip Sami try celebration right after we see Adesanya go, jumps up, throws the arrows down on Couchman. It was actually pretty sick.
Was that after?
Yeah.
It was after?
Yeah, it was. It was just after.
Crazy.
I missed that one. No, I didn't see that, Sally, but that's kind of cool.
Toby Sexton.
Hey, wow.
Yeah.
He's a guy.
He's not named in the squad, but it was good to see. I mean, his return to first grade, and he gets a try to win it. He had 1 try assist, 2 line break assists, and 420 run meters as well, which was really kick meters, sorry, which was really good to see. I think you'd said it last week that the Dragons are going to be that kind of team this year.
Inconsistent.
Yeah, they're going to be hard to predict, and they're going to win some that they should lose, and they're going to lose games that they should win. The other player that I thought played really well in this was Zach Lomax.
I was just about to say that. I mean, the try he got was pretty impressive, and he did a lot of good things for his team.
He's a good athlete in the air, for a centre.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, they don't make him a kicking option often, but he doesn't do badly when he jumps in the air.
The switch from right to left this year has been so good for him. I mean, we're not seeing the headlines of him with the flick pass, the flick pass, the flick pass, all the ground.
Yeah.
It's good to see he's building some confidence.
I mean, we criticised him quite a bit early to start this season that he wasn't doing much. So, I mean, good on him for making us eat some of our words.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's see if it continues. But I mean, yeah, good on him for doing well for a team. I mean, yeah, they probably could have won this game, but the Titans did enough.
And, I thought Ben Hunt was good again. He's got 1 try, 134 run meters, 1 line break, 1 tackle, 1 try assist, and 5 tackle breaks. So he's a little nugget of a man, and he's hard to put down, man.
I was just to say, he did have a bit of a PTSD flashback to the Broncos grand final, though. He dropped that sitter.
Now the Knights defeat the Wars. Knights defeat the Wars 34-24. I'm not sure why the Warriors kept attacking Dom Young's side with a kick. The man's a beast, and he's not going to outjump Montoya. The Knights had so much success down the Warriors' right edge, and they were plugging it all night. Warriors have conceded the first try in every match this year, and it's been to an outside back every single time besides the Knights in round 1. I think it was Liam Kelly said in our a little sports chat that the Warriors have gone from, or it might have been Kalen, the Warriors have gone from a second half team to a first half team.
Other way around.
Other way around, sorry. And look, they showed signs of the team camaraderie against the Sharks the weekend previously. I really thought we were in for it against the Knights. Wade Egan going down was another big blow for them, not having their captain fantastic, Tohu Harris as well. But it was a little bit concerning for the Wars. It's a game, if we say it, that they should have won and they didn't win.
Yeah, so they showed the positive signs we've seen from them all season in terms of staying composed and, staying in the fight and potentially bringing it back in that second half. They are a second half team, and we've been saying that, but old Warriors tendencies crept into this game, and they were just giving away cheap errors, cheap penalties, and just giving a admittedly clinical Knights team a lot of position and territory, but man, it was kind of a disappointing performance. And another thing that they've hung their hat on during the start of the season was their defense, and especially their goal line defense. And we're not seeing that same accuracy on the defensive end in those areas. And man, I was so high on them, and it's just a little bit disappointing to see all those things sort of creep back into their game.
See, I was just waiting to see how critical you guys be before I kind of balanced you guys out. And I'm going to. And the fact is, the way the game is played now, you need your full complement on your interchange or you're going to suffer. So the only saving grace for the Warriors team is that they were missing a few players to interchange. And we know their forward pack does a lot of work. We rely heavily on our forwards to make a lot of meters. And I think that did, bring our ability to come back into this game way down, losing those key players.
Well, the rotation suffers when you get Egan come off, and then you're having to replace him with
man, he gets knocked out in some colourful ways, eh?
Yeah.
They look real nasty every time.
But I mean, the one thing that we just cannot excuse is a kick from Johnson into the in-goal area on a winger like Dominic Young, who you know is going to take 90% of those balls anyway. You get him a free catch, he's going to sprint straight to the 20 line, and we have nobody set. He does a draw and pass, and they go 90 meters and then set up to score. Like, that kind of stuff is easy to remove from a game and almost inexcusable.
That's what I was saying. There's a bit of cheapness to some of those tries, and a bit of cheapness to some of those penalties in the first half where they just jump the line and they're like a meter offside. Like, stuff that can definitely be avoided, but the stuff that has cost us
Games.
top eight chances in previous years. So I don't want to see that, but a lot of credit has to go to the Knights because they proved last week wasn't a fluke. They played really well again. They were really accurate. They completed at a high rate, and they've got threats, man. They've got genuine threats. Dan Gagai looks good. Dominic Young looks like a superstar winger. And Lachlan Miller, again, 193 run meters, 1 line break, 6 tackle breaks. Good goal kicking, 5 from 6 goal kicking. So
Don't put an edge forward out on him and he goes all right.
yeah, exactly.
Now the Eels get the win over the Tigers. Just King Gutherson, the Tiger King, 5 tries in his last 5 games now against the Tigers. Mitch Moses also had himself a good night. He had 3 try assists in the first half. Then the Tigers started to happen. Just turned into a scrappy game, and the Eels were lucky enough not to lose it. Now, the Eels have had a tough start to the season with good teams coming off byes. This was inexcusable, though, and it was a game, to try and get something going, and it just didn't. The biggest separating margin as well for them this season is the most it's been is 8 points. So most games for the Eels is only decided by 4 points or less. Junior Tupou was great for the Tigers as well. 1 try assist, 8 tackle breaks, 4 line breaks, 220 run meters. He had a few random sort of mistakes in his
I've
game.
got here. He combines the best parts of an athlete and an idiot.
Oh, there it is. Look, I was impressed with him.
For sure.
There's raw talent there. And the Tigers remind me of the Warriors. And if we know what both of these teams can produce, it's young, rough, talented wingers. So, look, a great player to look forward to for the Tigers. Adam Dewey, tough blow.
Yeah, and it is tough because I honestly thought that was his best game he had played so far this season before he got injured. So it's a real shame for him. I still don't believe maybe half is his ideal position. The offense did look a lot better, especially in that second half. But it still didn't look like a nice, structured shape offense. It just looked like a couple of talented players making some really good runs and some really talented breaks. So still unfortunate for Dewey, especially if he's starting to, get a bit of confidence, and it's a huge blow for the Tigers.
I mean, I don't know any other NRL players who had a long career after having 3 ACL tears. I mean, man, third time's probably going to be the charm here.
He's
That's
a young
tough,
guy.
yeah.
He's a young guy. I don't know what his age.
Yeah,
I would say, guess 25.
Yeah,
Be
really?
my
Probably
guess.
around that.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, I thought he's been around in the league for a bit, so.
Not really.
Oh, but anyway, we were throwing up all sorts of ideas on where he could play and transform this Tigers team. And JT said, centre or even at last man.
13.
Yeah, I mean, it did seem like he was carrying a little bit of injury coming into this game. Like some of those runs, he didn't seem to be quite electric.
Yeah, and he had the hamstring.
Yeah, covered.
Yeah.
So, I mean, who knows how much of that was playing through some sort of injury. But, yeah, if he does come back, there are some options that I think he should be considering. Playing 13 would allow him to not actually put himself in those risky positions as much. I mean, have a non-contact injury like catching a ball in the air.
I think before moving into 13, I like the idea of it, but I'd love to see Dewey play with a gun 7.
Yeah.
So a 7 that can sort of just direct his team around the field and play the structure, and then Dewey gets to do similar to a Dill Brown type of thing. And
to be
run his
fair,
game.
we have seen it. Jackson Hastings,
true.
and it didn't really work.
Yeah.
But
How
they
much
had
of that is the Tigers?
Yeah,
though?
exactly. I was just about to say they didn't have the cattle. They don't really have great players this year, but they have a little bit more cattle. It just hasn't worked out for them at all. In terms of the Eels, though, they do have an X factor, and it's on that right side, and it's Mitchell Moses.
Yep.
My note here is that he plays like he's got high as levels of T. Like he's just so much effort. He's always running. He's always trying to put hits. He's a little tiny guy, but he seems so fit and so willing to get involved with every play.
And
If Mitchell Moses wasn't on that team, they'd lose.
Yeah,
was just gonna
think
say,
so.
We've seen a high T, small guy, love to put big hits on, run the ball, and wear that number 7 jersey for the Eels before. That's how Chris Sando. He's playing a little bit like him, but with a little bit more athletic ability and height.
He's not tall himself, but he's still probably got half a foot on Sando.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, the one thing that I noted from the Eels' performance is that they butchered a few opportunities. I mean, I'm not sure we've brought up Hayes. Was it Dunster?
Oh, Hayes Dumpster.
Yeah. I mean, man, he butchered. Was it Moses that?
Moses had a break, and then he didn't run a winger's line.
Yeah.
Funny that being a winger, and he just tried to cut him, and Moses got a little bit lost, and a try definitely went begging there.
Yeah, there was a few other opportunities where I think the last pass or two definitely went astray, and it's a bit of a cliche to say, but they definitely could have won by more.
Yeah, definitely. And look, the game just turned scrappy, and the results sort of reflected that on the back end of it. Into the NRL preview. Now, we have the Dolphins taking on the Rabbitohs at Suncorp. Wallace out, Bromwich and Jennings back in. Totola out, Johnston and Jairo are back. Now, the Rabbitohs are only 12 for 24 playing at Suncorp. That's obviously not against the Dolphins, though. I like the Rabbitohs continuing the form of the back end of last week, and I think this game is going to have a little bit of extra juice. Quite a few players had been contacted by Wayne Bennett about jumping ship to the Dolphins, and I think they've got a little target around this one. And there's going to be a few boys. We had Damien Cook, Latrell, all of the works being persuaded in a way over there. So, look, there's going to be some Dolphins boys saying you should come, and there's going to be some Bunnies boys saying this is our guy.
Yeah, and I mean, if there's any players that play with a chip on their shoulder more, I don't know if there is, other than Cody Walker and Latrell Mitchell. So, man, it's a good little stat to know. You've got the Dolphins here as $3.45 underdogs, the Rabbitohs at $1.29 favourites. I like what I saw from the Rabbitohs last week. It's like their offense finally got unlocked. I know the Bulldogs did a lot of favours for them to do that, but the Dolphins play a very traditional style, and I can see them being competitive in the first half. But when you play that style and you're against this Rabbitohs team who can get into their sets, get into their structures, and they're still missing Kafusi, they're still missing a defensive disruptor. I know Tom Gilbert's been good, but I'm going to stick with the Rabbitohs to kind of blow them out in the second half. And I've got the Rabbitohs 13 plus here at $2.
Nice.
Yeah, see, I'm backing my boy Skeen here on this one. I had the same margin as well to come through. The Rabbitohs just in some really top form. I mean, if you get Latrell and Campbell Graham crossing the line like they did last week, yeah, I don't think that Wayne Bennett has the coaching nous to keep this one within 12 points or to even get the win. I'm going to see a valiant effort. I think it's going to, definitely will be close to start the game. There'll be some big contacts. I think we'll see the Dolphins forwards try to establish some dominance, but you're going to see the Rabbitohs really open them up either through Cook through the middle or, their strike weapons out wide. 13 plus is probably safe money here.
Chasing the perfect 8. Look, Dolphins, right edge looks real tasty. You got Jermaine Osako up against Alex Johnson, but I'm going to the right edge of the Rabbitohs. The teams are having a lot of success when they're going down the left edge against the Dolphins. Edric Lee led in a double to Kyle Felt last weekend. You've got Robert Jennings coming in to replace him, but that's where the Bunnies found a lot of success last weekend. So I'm going Isaac Thompson to kick us off at $2. Sharks versus Roosters at PointsBet Stadium. Finucane's still out. Rudolph joins him on the bench there. Oregon Kafusi returns with Wade Graham. Tedesco and Lodge are back for the Roosters. Roosters have dominated the Sharks. Sharkies haven't won since 2017 and haven't beaten the Chooks at PointsBet Stadium since 2016. Sharks are coming into this off the bye, but the Roosters looked a little bit flat against the Storm. They're going to want to pick up from here. I think having Lodge back for them is just huge. So I'm going Roosters. This is going to be a bash up front. Yeah. Roosters head to head.
No, and I fully agree with that, and I love the stats that you've got to kind of back it up, because I'm going to go Roosters 1 to 12 at $2.88. They're the favourites here with $1.69. Sharks $2.13 underdogs, but yeah, Lodge coming back is huge for them. When they have their full complement of big front rowers, they love to bash you up the middle, and then once they, do their damage through the middle, man, it's lethal. And then Tedesco coming back into the fold.
With Lodge in there as well, there's going to be some quicker play the balls. Nasty pace. Brandon Smith pushing a nasty pace. And yeah, I'm thinking Roosters 1 to 12 at $2.88 because, the Sharks can run up points. And whenever they do get in the strike zone, it's almost a given that they'll score. But I think the Roosters are going to get it done.
See, I'm going to go against you fellas for this one. I think the Sharks have the nous to get this one done. And if you're a safe bettor, $2.13 head-to-head is a nice option. I mean, they've got a few people coming back. Kafusi, you've got Wade Graham, who also can make a big difference in the forward pack. So I think they're going to get this done. It's going to be close. The conservative option is is to go $2.13 head to head, just in case they blow them out. But 1 to 12 is probably where they'll get it done, and that's paying a nice juicy $3.30.
Okay.
Chasing the perfect 8. I'm looking back to the right edge for the Roosters. I've had a lot of success with Jackson Polo this year. Mulatalo has been caught out a little bit defensively this year, and we all know he loves an intercept. What happens on that right edge? Sammy Walker loves a lobby cutout ball. So I think if one of those can go over the top of Mulatalo, Jackson Polo, anytime jam, $2.
I love that. That may be my favorite anytime pick. I'm going to ride that.
Manly take on the Storm at 4 Pines Park. Nick Meaney out, Munster to fullback. Pezzett joins Jerome Hughes in the halves. Garrick out, and big boy Schuster and Woods are in. Now, I love these matchups. This is one of the best rivalries in sport,
for sure.
in my opinion. Melbourne have their wood over the Birds lately. 5 wins in their last 6 games, but Manly beat the Storm at 4 Pines Park last year. I'm going to back an upset win for the Birds here.
I mean, you totally would. It's an underdog pick with them at $2.35 and the Storm at $1.57. But I am going to tell you right now, I don't hate it. I don't hate it, especially with the mix-up with Cameron Munster going to fullback and Meaney out. And
these are games that you don't look at the head-to-head or the form coming in. These are rivalry matchups.
games. And it's not like the Seagulls don't have the talent to win this game either. It's just that I don't like the lack of effort I've seen from their forward pack in their recent games, and I do like the increased effort defensively and offensively of the Melbourne Storm in their previous games. So if I'm looking at the battle up front, I'm going to be a little conservative and I'm going to take Melbourne Storm, but I'm not predicting a blowout or anything. I'm going Melbourne Storm 1 to 12 at $3.10, but this match gives me a funny feeling, man.
Wow, 1 to 12, $3.10. That's good odds. That's not where I was looking to get value out of this one. I was actually going to recommend that you take the head-to-head on the Storm, $1.50, and chuck it into a multi and build some value that way by stringing it together. The other safe option that I think would just give you a little more extra value is a Storm minus 6.5 point start at $2.05. That just gives you that double up. And I think the Storm will most likely get this done by at least a try with an extra penalty or drop goal in there somewhere to get it done. I just think Munster at fullback, I think we're going to see some shades of a vintage Munster. I think with the freedom to play at the fullback and run around, I think you're going to see him on both sides of the field. Whereas
he'll still be involved very heavily in the offense.
So I mean, I think we might see some crazy line breaks. And I really think Munster's going to be the deciding factor in this one.
Chasing the perfect 8. Jason Saab initially was my pick for this. He had a double the last time they played. I like his matchup on the wing with the speed factor. But Ola Kawatu also crossed the last time they played. He's been in great form this year. You move Pezzett into that edge, and you've got the big, nasty Hamoli.
I love it.
Up against him.
Holy Hamoli.
Yeah, whether it comes from a kick or a short ball, that's somewhere that they're going to target. So Ola Kawatu at $2.
And just to back you up a little bit, if the line was a little bit bigger, I probably would have taken a Seagulls line, but the odds makers, I think, are in line with your thought, and they thought rivalry game, this is going to be tough footy.
It's all going to rest, I think, on Schuster as well. I'd go back on my haunches if Schuster doesn't play in this, but if he has been named and if he does play in this, I like it. Yeah. Now the Warriors take on the Cowboys back at Mount Smart. We've got Wade Egan and Martin are out. Tohu Harris back. Dylan Walker also moves into the halves, which I was a little bit confused about. Nanai back along with Taulangi for the Cowboys. Now, the Cowboys don't like playing at Mount Smart. They've only won 7 of 19 here, but they won the last time they played here 17-10. This one is a tough one to pick. The Warriors beat them 26-12 the last time that they played earlier this season. I think Wade Egan out will be another big loss for them. Look, I'm not convinced on the Cowboys this season, but Egan out, Walker into the halves is a little bit confusing, and as much as I regret it, I'm going to say the Cowboys.
I'm going to stay faithful.
Yeah.
You got the Warriors here at $1.83 and the Cowboys at $1.92. But honestly, I looked at this matchup and I looked at the ins and outs of the Warriors, and I just have a really, really bad feeling. But we do have a massive fortress at home, and we do lift in these sort of environments. So I am going to back the Warriors 1-12, but just like the last game, I'm not doing it with a whole lot of confidence.
It's icky.
Very icky. And that performance last week left a lot to be desired. The Cowboys have left a lot to be desired all season, but they're still a very talented squad. They're going to be up for this game. I'll stay with the Warriors 1-12 at $3.
Yeah. Let me just put a bit of faith back in you boys, because you're sounding... Look, you're not getting off the bandwagon that quickly, okay? Not with me around here. Now, after the performance that we put together last week, it's crystal clear what they're doing by putting Walker at the halves. They want a surefire thing on defense. They don't want to run the risk of Volkman getting run over. Dylan Walker's a much more imposing man. We saw him when they made the changes late. He did have the ball handling skills to play in the halves. I think Freddie Lussick brings a lot to the forward pack. I think he can run the ball well. I don't think he's, a Wade Egan replacement 1-for-1, because he can get you the tries and he's a bit of a fortress himself on defense. But Johnson and Walker in the halves is a great defensive pairing. I never thought I'd put Johnson in defensive pairing, but these guys make tackles, and I think what they're going to do is they're going to wear down this Cowboys team, because they're going to back the fact that the Cowboys don't have much in terms of threats out wide. They're going to shore up the middle, and they're gonna get this one done. The one thing that I think some of our bettors that follow will be interested in, Sammy said the stat about the Warriors conceding the first try in every game. If you're looking to back that to happen again, the Cowboys scoring first and to lose is paying a juicy $4.50. So back that one into your multi. But otherwise, if you want something safe to throw in together, a Warriors at -3.5 is paying $2.05. So get that one in you.
As for chasing the perfect 8, look, I think it's going to be a winger's heaven in this one. If you're a betting man, I'd be partnering up some Cossies and some Taulangis or Felt and Montoya in this one. But for me, I'm looking at Jeremiah Nanai. The winger option is super tasty, but second rowers, look, I'm going him in this one. I'm picking it's going to come from a kick. It's going to come from a short ball, but he's going down at Mount Smart. Now the Knights take on the Panthers at McDonald's Jones Stadium. Gamble back in for the Knights. Liam Martin also returns, but on the reserve bench. Penrith are on a roll at the moment. They've scored 97 points in the last 2 games and conceded only 24. They've beaten the Knights the last 3 times, and I see this one and another win in the column for the Panthers.
Yeah, so the bettors are obviously in line with your thinking, because they got the Panthers here at $1.16 and the Knights at $5, which is, hey, considering the Knights' recent form might be a little bit disrespectful, but no, I'm going to stick with the Panthers. The Panthers a little bit too dominant, both in this matchup between them and just in general at the moment. But I'm not going to go a huge blowout. I'm not sure that it will be disgustingly 40-50 like it has been. I think the Knights are very capable of scoring tries. They play very accurate. Hastings controls territory very well off the boot. So I don't see it being 40-50. I'm going Panthers 11-20 at $3.75.
You and me are on some wavelengths today.
Oh,
That's exactly what I've picked here. It's a juicy margin for them to go up more than by 4 tries. It just seems like the Knights won't let that happen, because they've got a lot of pride in their defense. We saw it against the Warriors. They get up and they can make tackles. So the Panthers are going to be too clinical. Cleary is going to run this team round. He's going to exploit the weakness that whatever the Knights present them. But yeah, 11-20. I think it's not going to be closer than 12 points. But yeah, that margin's going to be nice.
Chasing the perfect 8, Panthers targeted the right edge last week religiously. To'o had a great success through this. He scored a double the last time that these 2 teams met. Marju has been leaking points all season to wingers. So I'm taking Bizza, chasing the perfect 8, $1.67. Titans take on the Broncos at Seabus Super Stadium. Sexton out, Foreign returns. Flegler also out for the Broncos. Now, the Broncos have beaten the Titans 23 out of the 33 times that they've played each other, but only 4 points separated them the last time that these teams played. The Broncos did get shown up by injury, or an injury-riddled Raiders side. I'm going the Broncos here, though, and I think they're going to build on a 13-plus sort of margin in it.
Hey, and now we're on the same wavelength, because I'm also going to ride with the Broncos 13+. I think they really need to bounce back, and Walters will have them bouncing back in a big way, especially if they want to, reestablish their position as one of the genuine competitors of this competition. They're the favourites here at $1.28, and the Titans are the underdogs at $3.50. The Titans are very capable of scoring points, but the Broncos have really good defense for the most part, and then they've also got a high-leveled offense themselves, so I can see maybe a little arm wrestle with a late blowout for the Broncos, 13 plus at $2.
Well, look at that. 3 from 3.
Hey.
3 of us picking the Broncos 13 plus. The only thing that will put a little bit of trouble in that margin is Foreign coming back into the side. And we saw he made a huge difference to that team. Like within that one game where he came off, you saw the Titans falling apart. So
Fafita will want to have a big game in this as well.
yeah, exactly. So, I mean, that's the only thing that's worrisome. Maybe pick 1 to 12 if you like a little bit more juicy odds because the Titans could keep this close. But yeah, 13 plus is probably where a lot of people will put their money.
Left wingers have had a lot of success against the Titans this season. Jesse Arthurs has been in good try-scoring form this year as well. The Broncos are balanced on both sides of the park, so if it's not Cobbo scoring, it's Jesse Arthurs. Arthurs chasing the perfect 8 at $1.91. Now the Raiders versus the Dragons at Gaio Stadium. Rapana out, Kotrick, Tarpenny and Whiten are back. Ravalawa out for the Dragons as well. Now only 2 points has been the margin for the winning team in the last 3 of the 4 times that these two teams have played. The Dragons haven't beaten the Raiders at Gaio Stadium since 2015, and again, that was a 2-point winning margin in that one. So I'm backing the Raiders here. Whiten back should be a lot of help for this. They're going to continue that confidence coming forward, but the Dragons love to keep it close against the Raiders.
Yeah, you've got the Raiders here, favourites at $1.51, and Dragons underdogs at $2.50. And I'm looking at the wins of the Raiders this year. They've been close, gritty contests. They beat the Sharks 34-30. They beat the Broncos last week 20-14. When they win, they don't win by a lot. And you've just said that these two teams always are close. I hate betting on the Dragons after seeing their form and what they can do. They could easily boil this game over if they show up, but I'm going to ride with the Raiders 1 to 12 in front of a Viking clap audience, getting it done at $2.88.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, JT. And I made this pick before I actually saw the fact that they've got Whiten and Kotrick and a few others returning. I think there's going to be a big difference factor. I think Whiten brings a lot on attack when he runs the ball, and he can also string the passes together to get them over the line out wide. I think Rapana is a lot like Foxy in that he provides a bit of emotional stability and a rallying factor for the Raiders. But
Correct.
The way that he went down, I think they will kind of do it, in spite of that, and to do it for him, just to reward the brother for bleeding for the team, literally last week. So yeah, $2.88, decent odds there, 1 to 12.
Now, the last time that these two teams played, Amoni had a hat trick. I'm not sure if you remember it.
No, I don't.
No.
I'm looking at the other side, though. Jack Whiten, he's already scored 3 tries this season, and I like him to make it 4 in this one again. And at $2.40 odds, I can't turn away from it. Eels versus the Bulldogs at Combank Stadium. Adokar out. Now, we've got a lot of back-ins for the Doggies. Kikau, Pangai Jr., Fatala Mariner at Burns, just to rattle off a few, are all back for them. Junior Polo also back for the Eels. 42-6 was the final score the last time that these two teams played. I don't think that will be the scoreline, but Josh Adokar out for the Doggies is a huge factor. I'm excited to see how TPJ fits into the squad. Polo being back for the Eels, though, that's where I'm leaning. Eels head-to-head.
Yeah, and I wanted to pick the Bulldogs so badly when I saw this matchup. You've got the Bulldogs here at $2.85 underdogs and the Eels at $1.41 favourites. And I know the Bulldogs lost by 50-16 last week to the Rabbitohs, but I think this is still a pretty good team. I think they just got a lot of question marks, and especially with all those players coming back, they're a very dangerous side. But Paulo's huge. Paulo's huge for the Eels, and I think he makes them very competitive up front. They haven't looked great offensively at all, but I think they can establish enough of a stronghold up front to get the win. I've got Eels 1 to 12 at $2.88.
Man, this one's so tough.
I wanted to pick the Doggies, trust me. I did.
I didn't see the forward pack return. Man, there's so much juice. Vitala Mariner, Penguin Jr., kick out.
This one's a meathead delight. You got RCG, TPJ, you got Sean Lane, kick out. There's some big boppers up front going to collide.
Man,
Could be a few hands thrown with TPJ back.
yeah, potentially. Man, this is definitely one you want to get the popcorn ready. I'm gonna stick with my original pick, which is the Eels with that one. Oh, sorry, I picked 13 plus. I'm gonna change it to 1 to 12 after seeing those doggies come back. That is very scary. I'm not gonna back the 13 plus on that one.
Now, Micah Sevo will be facing Braden Burns in this one. That's where the offense will go in this. That's who I'm tipping for the chasing the 8. Sevo finds his way to the line week in and week out, so I like him here again in this one, and at $1.53.
Hey, that's a good 8, man. I'm actually really impressed with that 8.
So to round us all off, head-to-heads, we've got Jack Whiten, anytime try scorer, Canberra Raiders up against the Dragons, Micah Sevo up against the Bulldogs, Jeremiah Nanai up against the Warriors, Big Hamole Olakuatu up against the Storm, Jackson Polo up against the Sharks, Isaac Thompson up against the Dolphins, Bizza up against the Knights, and Jesse Arthurs up against the Titans. So
And what are those odds paying?
I can't remember the odds exactly, but $5 will get you $2,000 return.
Can I run through mine just because I've got it here? So real quickly, we've got Rabbitohs 13 plus, Sharks 1 to 12, Storm minus 6.5, Warriors to concede the first try and then win. And then
I love that bet.
Panthers, yeah, it's great. I mean, the stats bring it. The stats back. Panthers 11 to 20, Broncos 13 plus, Raiders 1 to 12, and then Eels 1 to 12. $5 will get you a lovely 20.5K.
Save that and we'll review it when it comes next week. All right, that's NRL wrapped up for us. To end us off, though, Tuesday, we head around the room, shine some light on past or present person that needs to have their, in quotation marks, jersey rep the most. I'll kick us off. Number 6 for the West Tigers, Adam Dewey. He's been playing on a shit team and doing what he can, and it's unfortunate when injuries are involved with the game, but they happen and it's a part of the sport. Now, I feel for Dewey because I can relate with this completely. Not 1, not 2, but 3 ACL ruptures. I hope mentally he can bounce back from this for one, and he takes his time with everything so no further issues occur. But I'm repping his jersey today because when sport is tough, when an opportunity like that is taken away from you with injury rather than form, it's just brutal. And look, it's tough. I wish him nothing but the best with his recovery, but someone needs to be in his corner, and I'm repping Adam Dewey.
Yeah, and we can both relate on a lesser extent having ACL injuries ourselves, and they're motherfuckers to rehab from. You don't feel like you're quite 100% stable for a long time, and for a young man to have that sort of injury 3 times already,
Yeah.
it's pretty sad, man. So hopefully he can get it back to full strength and full health.
Yeah, did you hit 3, Sammy, or was it just the 2?
I hit 2, and then I also had a clean out midway. So a little bit of context around it. I'd had straight out of school ruptured my ACL, come back exactly on the year, re-ruptured, and then I took a little bit of time away from the sport, got hungry for it, went back again, having more issues, went away, it was PRP injections, so it's where they spin your blood cells, combine or separate the white from the red. Ugh. And I was having a lot of pain within tendonitis and all of that, so they inject it into the tear. So my second operation was the patella grafts, and when you take when you take the patella tendon away from it, there's going to be a big gap in it, so they need to inject the white blood cells into it to repair it. I've had like more issues again from it, and obviously decided to hang them up. So I can relate with the guy. It's brutal when, like I said, the sport gets taken away from you. I'm not in the same concept whatsoever, but when it gets taken away from you because you're not good enough is something that sucks, because Dewey is a gun, and it's a shame that he's on this Tigers team doing real stinky right now, because he could be a real asset to a good team, and I hope he comes back and I hope he's healthy.
Yeah, for sure. So shout out Adam Dewey, get better, man. But another guy, I'm going to keep it recent, but I guess it's in the past now. And it's a guy that retired on the weekend from the UFC, and I'm going Jorge Masvidal. And, you know, I haven't really been the biggest fan lately of Jorge Masvidal. I think he's sort of got the money and he sort of fell in love with his character and fell in love with his gimmick. But when I saw him retire, I was like, man, this guy is actually a real bad man, and he has done a lot for the sport, and he is kind of a legend of the fight game. 52 professional fights spanning 19 years as a pro.
That's crazy.
And then even before that, he was on Kimbo Slice's street fight videos on YouTube as Ponytail. So the man is a fighter by nature. He's entertaining. He is such a genuine bad man. He's in the cage and he's just constantly talking, and he's just really into the fight. But you saw in the weekend, I didn't quite see the same guy. There was a little bit of chirping, but it's not the same Jorge Masvidal. So I want to shine light on what he was. He was actually probably the hottest property in the UFC during that 2019 to 2020 run that he had with the 4 finishes since Conor McGregor. He honestly was. He started by knocking out Darren Till after 2 years away on a reality TV show. Then he knocks out Ben Askren with the knee in 5 seconds. Then he beats Nate Diaz for the baddest motherfucker title. So, I mean, he did a lot of good things in that short period of time and became a superstar. So, shout out Masvidal. Hope you don't, go to like bare knuckle or something buzzy and get even more brain damage. But man, what a legend.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully he finds a nice gig in his own promotion. I mean, we saw it a week or so ago with the Gamebreed promotion putting on a decent card of retired MMA fighters. So maybe he starts matching up guys against himself there. But I forgot to mention it earlier in the podcast, but there was a moment somewhere late in the second round where Gilbert caught him flush and his whole facial reaction to the fight changed. It was almost like he changed from I'm determined to win this to man, I'm just trying to survive and get the hell out of here. It was just one clean shot and all of his confidence just disappeared. And you never want to see that from a fighter. And from that moment on, I knew it was a wash. But yeah, mad props to his career, to his ability to be a really good company man.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, I think this is pretty well expected. There's been a lot going on in the golfing world, especially involving some Kiwi men. And it's with the Masters wrapping up, I just don't think we can get through this segment without showing mad props to the best New Zealand golfer in the world at the moment, and that's Ryan Fox, playing his first ever Masters after qualifying through the DP World Tour, which is like the European version of the PGA Tour. Yeah. So he takes over his dad, his parents, and his mum, and a few of his mates to watch the Masters. They have a par 3 competition before the Masters week starts, and it's tradition to have your family member be a caddy. So, the great ex-All Black Grant Fox, his father, takes the caddying responsibilities. He comes 4th in the par 3 competition, which is pretty commendable as it is. And then he goes on to finish tied 26th for a take-home pay of $220,000.
Ooh, not a bad
That's US, so that's not a bad purse for a week of work. So,
do they play can a hole?
I think they play $1,000 a hole. I mean, God, the amount of money that must go through. Oh, I tell you what, a fantastic stat that I saw from the Masters. They will do over $70 million in merch sales for that week alone.
Whoa.
Yeah, because they've just the amount of people that come through from the practice rounds through to every day of the Masters event. It's the only place where you can get the Masters t-shirts, hats, anything. All of that stuff gets sold out. They're doing $1 million a day.
Sheesh.
No, it's like $1 million an hour, sorry.
Maybe Ryan Fox deserves more for coming 26th.
Well, I mean, who knows where all that money goes? But Augusta, another crazy fact just for talking about it. The sand in their bunkers isn't sand. It's actually fine quartz dust from the lake,
Well, there's where the money goes.
Yeah, so they don't use sand.
Shit.
Yeah, it's a byproduct of mining quartz. So it's like the fine white rock and quartz dust that they create from mining quartz.
Wow.
That's why it's so white.
The more you know. Don't say we don't teach you anything.
No. And last final fact, Augusta have air conditioning units basically underneath all of their greens. So regardless of...
That's what I was going to bring up.
Regardless of whether it's raining or sunny...
You've got a consistent track.
Temperature controlled, humidity controlled, moisture controlled on every single green in the complex. There's so much money in that place, bro.
Man, that would be kind of nice to play on that course, right?
Yeah, it's a lottery. You've got
Isn't there it's got to be bucket list, right?
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, even just going to the event, you've got to go into a lottery. People go their whole lives trying to go to the Masters and never turn up.
You can't just fluke a good hand at Golf Harbour, a good round. Sorry.
No, but I'm not talking about playing. I'm talking about watching.
Oh, right.
Just watching is a lottery. You have to apply to go watch, and you may not get picked unless you've got the money to buy outright. And pay I don't know, hundreds of thousands of dollars for a VIP ticket.
Sheesh.
Crazy. All right, that's another episode in the books for us. We'll see you at Northridge on the weekend. We'll be hitting a beer Bear a hole, yeah.
Bear a hole trying to qualify for the
That
PGA Tour.
that
We'll be
sounds
in the
like a
hazard.
goal. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you next week.
See you in the Sands.
Peace.